Hello, it's time for Science Notes. Our topic today, scientific literacy. By the end of this lesson, students will be able to do the following. Explain what scientific literacy is and why it is important. Explain how to analyze scientific claims using scientific reasoning. And describe how to conduct background research on a scientific question and evaluate sources of information. Let's get started. So why is scientific literacy important? To understand the many issues you encounter, you need scientific literacy. Scientific literacy means understanding terms and principles well enough to ask questions, evaluate the information, and make decisions. By having scientific literacy, you will be able to identify good sources of scientific information, evaluate them for accuracy, and apply that knowledge to questions or problems in your life. Let's talk about the difference between evidence and opinion. To evaluate scientific information, you must first distinguish between evidence and opinion. First is evidence. Evidence includes observations and conclusions that have been repeated. Evidence may or may not support a scientific claim. Then there's opinion. Opinion is an idea that may be formed from evidence, but has not been confirmed by that evidence. Let's look at this cartoon. In the first frame, a claim is being made. Global warming is a hoax. In the second frame, I repeat, global warming is a hoax. In the third frame, a legitimate question is asked. Then what's melting? In the fourth frame, people's trust in science. This is an example of an opinion. There's evidence that something's going on, but there is no proof. It cannot be repeated. So how do you analyze scientific claims? How do you know what the information you're looking at means? How do you know that what you're reading is true? Scientific literacy gives you the tools to analyze scientific claims. Scientific reasoning gives you the process. This is the website for the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC. It's a government agency here in the United States. At this agency, they conduct all sorts of research and investigations on diseases, all sorts of diseases. Because it's a government agency, can we trust it? Because the people have certain training and education, should we believe them? What sort of reasoning should we use in order to make decisions about the information we would find on this website? You can use scientific reasoning to analyze scientific claims by looking at the bias and errors in the research, evaluating data, and identifying faulty reasoning. Bias and errors. Where did they make a mistake? Where does it look like personal opinion was added to this discussion, or cultural opinion? evaluating the data, actually looking at the numbers, looking at what was done, how it was done, and identifying faulty reasoning. Does this make sense? Does this look like it has some truth to it? How can you double check the work, the research that someone else has done? So how do you research scientific questions? Chances are you will need to answer scientific questions to make decisions in your life. For example, you strained your back picking up a box. You're in a whole lot of pain. You need to do some research before deciding what to do about this. Who do you call? Where do you look up the information online? Who do you trust? Would you talk to the pharmacist before you get medication? Would you talk to your mom and get her suggestions? Would you look up the information on a website? Is that website reliable? In science, you also need to do research before you design an experiment. To make decisions and design experiments, you need relevant and reliable background information. Relevant information is knowledge that relates to the question. My back hurts. I heard it picking up a box. How do I fix this? Is there medication for this? Reliable or consistent and truthful information comes from a person or organization that's not biased. Your mom might be just a little biased. What she'll probably tell you is, look it up on the internet, or call your doctor, or here, let's go to the pharmacy and ask the pharmacist. He or she would know what you might need to do. In general, universities, museums, government agencies, places of that nature have reliable and relevant information. Many nonfiction books, magazines, and educational websites are also really good sources of reliable information. Okay, let's summarize. Scientific literacy is important because it allows you to identify good sources of scientific information, evaluate them, and apply the knowledge to questions and problems in your life. Scientific reasoning is important to analyze scientific claims. You are able to look for bias and errors in the research, evaluate data, and identify faulty reasoning. And finally, to conduct research and to make and design experiments, you need relevant and reliable background information.